you're in control, man, that looks great.
Jets! 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 Woo!
Oh my God, it's so beautiful. 78 degrees, Jets football, and we're winning. That's what's going on today. That's why everybody's so psyched. This isn't no happenstance. This is a guarantee, just like Joe Namath said. See that?
There are few things in life you cannot put a price on. Loyalty, tradition, fierce passion. Today is a gigantic family reunion because finally, they're back.
Big day. Coach Middleton,
Yes,
what an unbelievable effort.
Yes,
Your
it was.
inspiration at halftime, they got it there, man.
Well, I appreciate your effort, man. Hell of a job. You should be proud of yourself.
I'm so proud of everybody. I mean, it's been a hell of a year watching this damn game, but whatever it freaking takes, offense, I freaking love the way y'all ran the ball today, man. That was freaking awesome. How about Braxton?
How about Braxton, everybody? And that was before we knew he would be our returning champion of the free agent class, our wide receiver for the next couple of years in return, man, Braxton Berrios. Good morning, everybody. This is Green Bean. Welcome to a special holiday edition of Green Bean's Jets Pod. This week we are going to be live, as you now know, because guess why? Because it was virtually impossible to get any editing and everything done during the holiday weekend. I celebrate Passover. We were in Baltimore for Passover. I'm now in a closet in Staten Island doing the Easter thing and couldn't do it. So I said, I'm definitely not just taking it away for the week. I have to spend my time with you guys on a Monday morning. So here we are. I'm happy that you guys are with me. I'm in a good mood. It turns out I think we're going to go to Six Flags Great Adventure later on today. So if anybody wants to go, you can show up there. It's a public place. I am looking forward to riding the Jersey Devil coaster. I don't know if you guys know about that thing yet, but it opened this year. It is the largest, longest, tallest single rail coaster on the planet Earth. Isn't that interesting? So we're going to do that. You guys know I love roller coasters, so I'm psyched about that. But how is everybody today, man? I see you guys. I see you in here. Let's say good morning. Joseph Schwert got us started. The early bird special, he called it. That's right. Owen popped in. OK is here. Joe Valente. Yeah, man. Look at all you guys. Rob D. Nick Rousseau is here. That's right. We're out here. Chris Bradigan. Good morning to you. Good morning to you. Who else we got? B2B is back. Thank you. Just got my green bean mug delivered with fresh hot coffee. It's not hot coffee. I forgot I asked for iced coffee. That was a weird, like when you're expecting one thing and then you get something else, all of a sudden it's a negative. That first sip was miserable for a split second. It's like you think you're getting Sprite and you get Coke and it might as well be dishwater. Nathan Colgrove is here. My old buddy Matt Simon from the Greenhouse on Facebook. James Saberka, good morning, James, and Joe, and Edward Ziff, and Tom is here. Yeah, man, Tom Coleman, James Kirkpatrick. I love you guys. Vafadoost, Jeremy Crowder. That's right, Green Bean for the W. There it is, man. So Philip Allen is here. Hank is here. Michael Palermo. You guys are the absolute best. So I wanted to theme this today. As you guys know, we have 10 days until the draft. 10 days from right now, we are going to have the NFL draft. As you guys more than likely already know, we have our third consecutive Jets Talk 24/7 Talking Jets panel draft live stream where we start an hour before the pick and we go all the way until the end of day 3. It ends up being like, I don't know, 20 hours or something like that of draft coverage. But you guys got to be there with us, man. If you haven't made it yet, it's the best. And we have so many people coming on, everybody from Jake Assman to Jude Jets and everybody in between. And we're still collecting people to come on. So you guys have to make sure that you're there with us. At least pop in, right? I know Sack Exchange has an actual live event going on in Brooklyn for the first round. So if you guys are going to that, awesome. I'll probably be checking in with Sack, trying to at least connect us with those guys over there. But hey, even if you go to a live party game, round 1, hey man, there's nothing wrong with going live round 1 and then popping in with us day 2 and 3. You know what I mean? That's the thing. It's 3 friggin' days of awesomeness. And it has to be awesome, because if it's not, I'm going to be friggin' miserable. You know what I mean? So T-minus 10 days. That's right. James Saberka, thank you for the super chat. I don't see a question, James. I'm grateful and appreciative. But if you have a question, I'll be scanning the chat. Throw it in there. I'll make sure to get it up there, James. But thank you again. And guys, as you know, I'm going to talk about a few things. I want to talk a little bit about Travon Walker versus maybe a couple of the other guys. A little bit of Kavon Thibodeau, a little bit of Karlaftis. Give us a little spread down the line of some of the guys that we might end up choosing at 4. And that's the thing, man. Like, we have to really start cooling out, right? We argue, we do all this stuff. We explore all the players. Now, in my opinion, it's time for Jet Nation to unify, to get on board with the smart. We have explored everything. The smartest things for us to do as a franchise. We got to start trimming it down, cool down the arguing with each other. I've seen people that I know were friends on Twitter. They hate each other all of a sudden. They hate each other because one guy wants Sauce and the other guy wants, Thibodeau, and they're not friends anymore. We can't do that. We gotta stay unified. Don't forget, and I tell you guys this all the time, the rest of the NFL world hates us. Okay? They hate us. Whether it's fictitious and they've made up a reason to hate us, whether it's because we bombarded their players' site and their organization had to put out an official statement to keep us out of there, whatever it is, they hate us. So it's important that we stay together. Now, guys, before I get into the Travon Walker, I want to talk about some of these guys' weaknesses. That's what we're going to do. We've explored their strengths ad nauseum. I want to talk about the weaknesses. All right, like really focus on the weaknesses and see if it's things that we think our coaching staff can get around or coach them through it. Because some weaknesses you just can't. It's just the guy's never going to be what you want them to be in that area. But there's a lot of things that guys can have coached out of them. They can be coached up, and that's what the coaches' freaking jobs are, right? They're supposed to take raw chunks of clay and make beautiful vases out of them, right? That's what their job is. So we have to see if we think our coaching staff can do that. But before we do, I want to show you guys my sponsor for today. Now, I want you to know I actually have this mattress. I've been sleeping on it for 2 or 3 weeks now. I friggin' love it. It has changed everything for me, and it's affordable. It comes right in the mail. It was like $300-$400, man. It's like I used to spend the last mattress I bought was $4,500 freaking dollars, and it was no better. So let me just play you guys this brief little ad that I made for them, and then we'll get into the show. This is my sponsor, Novilla Mattress. Unroll it, pop the little shrink wrap action, and watch it come to life. Look at that thing. It's alive. Within minutes, it's a soft, fluffy mattress.
Made from eco-friendly materials, this affordable mattress is risk-free with a 30-day sleep trial and a 10-year warranty. Novilla Mattress is suitable for all sleep positions and offers excellent motion isolation. Take advantage of their Easter sale going on right now and take an additional 5% off by using the promo code GreenBean's. Novilla Mattress.
There it is. What do you think of that highly produced commercial? Huh? Come on. You know I'm old. You know I'm technically deficient. I think we did a pretty good job because we were inspired to. And I want to just tell you, again, the information is at the top of the description. Guys, they give you a 30-day, if you want to get it and you don't like it, you can sleep on it for 30 days and they'll work with you everything if you don't want it and all that. I mean, it's risk-free. And right now you can get 25% off an already affordable mattress. So all the information is right there in my description. Have at it. Don't forget to use the promo code GreenBean and save even more money. So I saw a comment here. Where did it say? Where was it? So Owen says we need a wide receiver at 10, right? Well, let's talk about pick 4 first. Okay. We want to talk about pick 4. And the reason being, because pick 4 is going to come first, right? We're together on this. We all understand that pick 4 comes before pick 10. So pick 10 is going to be influenced a whole bunch by what it is that we do at pick 4. Now, what do we hear at pick 4? We hear, obviously, edge rusher. We've heard cornerback, but only one cornerback in particular, Sauce Gardner. We've heard safety, with only one safety in particular, and that's Kyle Hamilton. And then we've heard, I think the most, the other position heard the most is offensive tackle. Now, why are we talking about those positions? Very few people, I've seen the trickles, very few people are talking about a wide receiver at 4. The only people that are the ones concerned that we will only want one receiver in this draft and that Atlanta's going to take him, right? So if we love Garrett Wilson, Atlanta's going to take him. If we love Jameson Williams, the Atlanta Falcons are going to take him. So people are nervous and they want to just get him right there at 4. But other than that, you're really looking at edge, cornerback, again, Sauce Gardner, Kyle Hamilton, or offensive tackle. Now, why? Because the players in those groups, in those position groups, happen to be the best players in the draft. So the most talented players in the draft happen to be at those positions. And when you have a top 5 pick, I say it all the time. You guys already can hear me saying it before I say it. When you have a top 5 pick, the only true priority is that you leave with a top 5 player. That's it. All right. If it's not at the exact position that you need, fine. As long as you left the top 5 with a top 5 player, and the same thing applies to the top 10. These are places where, sadly to say, you should not be reaching. You shouldn't. You're only going to have 3 players picked before you in the draft. The player we select should be the 4th player, if not arguably the best player in the draft. Okay. You have to leave the top 5 with the top 5 position. So it just so happens that we're looking at tackles, Sauce, Hamilton, or edge. Now, what do we think when you have all those positions? If you have Ickey and Neal and Thibodeau and Hutchinson and Sauce and Hamilton on the 1 tier, those are the only guys that you have with a top 5 rating. What should happen? If they're all equal on the tier, that's when you go for need. All right. That's when you go for need. Now, the good news for us is that one of those positions happens to be something that we've desperately needed for 22 years. 22 years we've needed this position, and that is edge rusher. So it can be argued that the most talented players in the draft are of that position. So here we stand. More than likely, unless the top 3 just decimates that one position, which I don't think it will. It could, but I don't think it will. We're going to get a chance to take an edge rusher at 4 that could be the guy that's here for the next decade and lights up the quarterbacks and gives our defense a true blue chipper that teams have to plan against, and that can give our defense that real chance of becoming something, because we all know it's predicated on the pass rush. Yes, great cornerbacks are great, but even the best cornerbacks, especially in today's NFL, they can only cover for so long. Like they say, there's really no such thing as a shutdown corner anymore because they made it increasingly difficult. You know what I mean? Increasingly difficult for the cornerback. So you want to help them out as best you can by what? Just like Joe Douglas said, you want to take a $30 million receiver out of the game, hit his quarterback. That's what you do. That's the goal. Don't get confused. Don't get confused and try to get a bunch of corners and kill the guy with the ball. Now, we used to have a game when I was a kid. Maybe you guys remember. Sometimes we played football. Sometimes we played manhunt. And every now and then, right before dinner time, when it's getting dark in the winter and everything, we would play a game called Kill the Guy. You guys remember this game? Kill the guy? Kill the guy with the ball. The whole premise of the game was whoever has the ball, the other 10 kids, kill him. Just kill him. And then he'll throw the ball and somebody else gets it and we all kill him. The funny part about it is we all wanted the ball. So that's what we have to do. Now let's take a look. The reason I talked about Travon Walker in the title, it's not that he's the only guy we're going to talk about today, but I wanted to really focus on him because there is all sorts of information out there right now about Travon Walker shooting up the draft boards. Now, why? Where was he a few months ago? He was in the conversation. He was looked at as maybe a late first, potentially early second round. And what happened was he went to the combine, had a fantastic combine, and then we started looking at his athletic attributes, and people started saying, you know what? This might be the raw piece of clay that we want because he's super athletic. But let's go ahead and take a look at his weaknesses real fast. Okay, so we're going to take a look here. Let me share my screen with you guys. And I'm going to find this. Travon Walker. So I'm going to go ahead now. Look, you can use all kinds of sites. I'm going to use the NFL. This is what I'm using, all right? The NFL evaluation. Now, I looked at a whole bunch. I looked at, Tankathon, CBS, Draft Tech, everybody, and their grades, PFF. I find that they're all very similar, and this one carves it out in a way that I think is very digestible. So when you look at their overall, they think he's a very, very good prospect. He will become a good starter within 2 years. That's their assessment. So he's not going to come out of the gate and light up the NFL. He's going to take time. It's not what we want to hear because Jets fans, as we know, we're a bit on the intense side. Fair enough. Is that fair? Is that fair to say? We're a bit less, a little bit more impatient, a little bit less willing to give somebody 3 years to develop. So that's what they're saying. Now, there's all kinds of strengths, things like, how big and long and powerful at the point of attack, excellent understanding of how to create leverage, transfers power from hips to hands to lift opponents' pads, all that sort of stuff. But let's focus here. And we're going to do the same thing here for a few other guys. And then I'd like to see if you guys think that our coaching staff can coach this out of them. And then I'm going to go into the chat and see what you guys think about this. So here's weakness number one. For a guy that's athletic, this was interesting to see. Below average get off playing inside or outside. Now, don't forget, a lot of people have Travon Walker that his optimal scenario would be an outside linebacker in a 3-4. As opposed to a hand in the dirt. Now, he played with his hand in the dirt plenty, but they're saying that they view him as if he gets into a 3-4, he's going to have a greater shot. We know that we are not that, but that's okay. But for a guy who's as athletic as he is, having these top two weaknesses is very interesting to see. Below average get off playing inside or outside. So that's the get off. That's the kind of things that when you look at the combine, the vertical, obviously the drills and everything, but also the jump. What the hell's wrong with me? The long jump. That one is that's when you start to see their burst. Okay. Now he did very well as far as the combine went, but it's interesting to see this very limited bend in his lower half. Now we saw up here it says transfers power from his hips to hands to lift opponent's pad, so he has it. But look, it's more with what he's doing with his hands, okay? But so very limited bend in his lower half, works with elevated pad level and lack of fluidity. So when you look at these top three right here, we have below average get off, limited bend, and an elevated pad level, which goes with the leverage, right? So when you're playing high, it's very, very hard to get proper leverage. You end up using your arms and hands instead of your core and all that sort of stuff. Okay, now we have dull pursuit burst in space. Now that's something that he gets hit on a lot, and that is once the play's away from him, he doesn't so much keep going. Where a guy like an Aiden Hutchinson or even a Karlaftis, they're known for like going until the whistle, right? So he gets a little bit of this. Not threatening as an edge-to-edge rusher, struggled to displace Alabama offensive tackle Evan Neal's outside hand with force. And that's something you guys can watch that if you haven't yet. They went head-to-head, and somebody was gracious enough to just carve it all up and make a video on their battle, all the plays that they went head-to-head. And you can see Evan Neal, for the most part, really owns Travon Walker. That's one of the concerns too. It's like when you look at him against other guys that we're saying are potentially great in this draft class, he didn't do so well. Lethargic getting from move to move. And now this is one of my issues. The other stuff, I think we might be able to work with, his leverage and his get off and things, because he has the strength. He has the lower body strength. So you can show him how to do that stuff. But this is an interesting one, which it could be attributed to processing speed. So his ability to be within the play and be able to figure out moves while the play is happening. Now, this is something that you see. In my opinion, George Karlaftis does a little bit better a job. And it's one of the things I happen to like about George Karlaftis. He has weaknesses too, of course. But it's one of the things I like. He can go from move A to move B almost instantly. And so he's lethargic getting from move to move, which is this. If he's going to do a bull rush and the offensive lineman anchors well, he just kind of stalls because he's already in that move to being able to, to switch to the next move, maybe a swim or whatever it might be to get around him. He doesn't do that fast enough. So that could be something that is his football acumen, and he will need scheme help as an NFL rusher. Now, this is not something you want to see in a top 5 candidate, but it's normal. Like you want to be able to scheme around your player's strengths. They're saying here he's probably going to need some of that. He's not just going to come in and own it no matter what you do. He's going to need to be placed in particular situations in order to be successful. So let me see here. Okay. So I want to see what you guys think about this. Now, I'm going to peruse the chat. Now, remember, this is specifically Travon Walker. Okay, hold on. There it is. Okay, this is specifically Travon Walker. Again, we talk about these guys' strengths so much that I wanted to take this, and I'm not singling him out. I'm using him as the first guy. We're going to look at a couple of others weaknesses as well, because I really want to explore this with you guys. Again, this is the final week and change. This is where we want to be comfortable, like with what we view, what we think, where we are, where our expectations are with the New York Jets and what they should do. Hey, there's Anthony. What's up, Drums? How you doing, buddy? Johnson seems like a good fit. So let's talk about Travon Walker, though. So Walker will dominate the worst 5 offensive line in the league. He will be a no-show against top offensive linemen. That is not the first time I've heard a similar comment about him, that he's going to get his numbers. He's going to be able to do that. But we talk about this all the time. Like, one of the things I like about Quinnen Williams is, even though he's been disappointing as far as top 3 overall pick and being able to be like Aaron Donald, right? The truth is that he's been a solid player. But the thing I like about Quinnen Williams is that he tends to get his numbers, even if they're disappointing numbers overall, where he gets his sacks or his tackles for a loss tend to be at big moments of the game. So he seems to know how to, to show up when you need him to show up, where there are other guys like a Jamal Adams who would get his numbers against terrible teams. He would like take advantage of one situation. Like, we talk about it all the time. He had that 6.5 sacks his last year with us. 5 of them came against 2 teams. So the rest of the year he had 1.5 sacks. So we were trying to inflate his sack numbers. Hey, look, he's one of the best sackers for, in history at the position. But the truth is, he got 3 against the, I think it was 3 against the Giants and 2 against the Washington Redskins at the time. But either way, he took advantage of really terrible teams and his numbers exploded. But the rest of the time when we were playing good teams, he didn't do so much. Quinnen tends to be on the other side. And that's what we really want to try to get, a guy that we think can show up when you need him to show up. At the end of the game, 4th quarter, 4th and 1, 40 seconds left. They're trying to get the first down. That's when you want your great players to be great. Those are the moments, hey, good plays are good plays. But first quarter, 5 minutes into the game, getting the sack, it's great. But as we know, 4th quarter, guys that are not gone in the 4th quarter, that's what you want to be able to find. So Tom Coleman says, where does Ojabo have to fall? Let me see. Let me get I forgot to put my, here we go. I'm back. So where does Ojabo fall? I don't know, man. I really don't. I think that maybe a really good team could use a late first on him. I tend to think he's going to slide. I really do. Because he got a fresh Achilles injury, late in the game, man. I don't know. I feel terrible for that guy because he was going to be a first-round pick for sure. What's up? Good to see you, Ant. Let's see. Michael Dubois says, Walker is stiff in his get-off and his bend. I feel like his measurables and his size and arm length are hyping him up too much. Yeah, well, and this is what we want to talk about, right? Like, nobody can deny his athleticism. But I'm really curious to how that can translate. You want to take guys that are athletic freaks. You want that because you can do more with them. They're able to adjust and adapt to more. That said, he's gonna have some specific issues that you don't want to have to deal with if you're taking a player top 5. That's the thing. Drew Pacabra says Calvin Pace and Brian Thomas both lacked big sack numbers, but we sure did miss them when they were gone. Walker at 4. Yeah, but let me ask you this, Drew Pacabra. Would you ever consider taking Brian Thomas or Calvin Pace with the 4 overall pick? I never would. I liked both those players, of course. But we overdrafted Brian Thomas, and I think he was something middle of the first, 16, something like that. The guy we should have took, Drew Pacabra, was Ed Reed. He was sitting right there. We chose Brian Thomas over Ed Reed. And then we chose to get our safety in the 2nd round that draft. So I don't know. Your point about them being, good, solid players is great. That's where you want to get those types in the 2nd to 4th round. That's what you want to be able to do. Using a top 5 pick on a Calvin Pace it's not getting me very excited. Gitmo Bob says, and good to see you, Bob. He says, I'm always leery of late rising prospects. More times than not, it's a lot of hype. JD really needs to do his due diligence. Now, I want you to know I agree with you 100%. Now, there are guys that are top of the class at the end of the season, right? Because of what? Because of their on-the-field performance. Once that slips into the background and you start looking at things like the combine, like measurables, like pro days, things like that, interviews, all that. And you see some guys, their position gets strengthened. Other guys fall like a stone in the lake. And then there are guys like a Travon Walker who shoots out into the stratosphere. Now, we have to wonder, to what degree is this truth? Is it hype? Is it the hype machine trying to get one of the two teams up top to make a mistake and pick somebody that really shouldn't be picked there? Or is it accurate? But I have to say, I agree with that, Bob. I'm always nervous about the guys that have that off-season burst. Now, great combine. There's reasons for it, for some movement, but I'm always cautious as well. Harold says, I appreciate you reading the scouting report, but these are not gospel. They often say people are great at this or that, and then you watch for yourself and it's not evident, or vice versa. Well, that's the thing, I mean, look, it's the same thing, Harold, when people talk about PFF. Right now, I'm not the biggest PFF guy. I happen to really dislike their other stuff. Their numbers are fine, but they put out all this other content. I think it's complete hogwash. I really do. Now, that said, PFF is putting in just hundreds and hundreds of hours of collecting data. So to ignore it would be silly, because they've put all this together. Now, factoring that in with maybe some next gen, maybe some other evaluators and stuff, that you should be able to get a nice rounded position. Like I said in the very beginning, this is just one that I find to be easier to discuss. NFL.com does a really good job of compiling a lot of things from elsewhere, and they put it all together for you so you can see it in one snapshot. So it's definitely not gospel. You're absolutely correct. And look, if you're not watching tape by yourself, it's hard to have a very strong opinion, in my opinion. But yeah, this is just one of those good ones. He punished Evan Neal. He did not punish Evan Neal. He did not punish Evan Neal. Evan Neal stood him up numerous times. I watched that video more than once. Now, maybe he beat him up. That's fine. But he didn't get anything done. I got to watch it again. I haven't watched it in about a month, maybe, something like that. But that was one of my first things I watched on Travon Walker. After, I do all the highlights first, see how psyched I can get for guys. Absolutely. Paul Olofsky says pressures are important too. Absolutely. And that's where Kavon Thibodeau comes in, right? Kavon Thibodeau doesn't have sack numbers that really pop off the chart. They really don't. I mean, they're solid, but they're not look at Josh Allen. He had, 23 sacks his final season in college, something like that. That shoots off the page. Even Jermaine Johnson's kind of stick out. Thibodeau's don't, but when you start looking at how many times he's disrupted the play, it's a whole different story. And that's kind of the guy we already have in Carl Lawson. We all know his sack numbers aren't there. If you look at Carl Lawson with just the naked eye, just look at a stat sheet, you slide right past him. That's not the guy. When you pay attention to things like what Paul is talking about, that's what you're looking at here. It's how many times is this guy beating his man to disrupt the play? Are there interceptions that took place, incomplete passes that took place? No, that's maybe not a sack, but it was 100% because of this guy. And that's the stuff that's a little bit more difficult to see. Owen checks in. I think it's the opposite, Tom. Travon sacrificed stats for his team scheme to benefit their team at Georgia, has good linebackers, and the scheme benefited them. That's part of the reason JJ left, so he can shine. Right, and I've seen that as well, Owen, is that Travon Walker, his job in the scheme was not to be the guy. He was the guy supposed to be taking on the hard jobs. And look, you need that. You need linebackers and defensive linemen that are willing to just take the block. We call that the blue collar guy, the guy doing the dirty work. That said, I also read a lot of stuff that said that's not exactly accurate. Travon was he was put in numerous positions to be the star. He was the edge rusher. He was supposed to be getting to the quarterback, and he didn't have so much of a job other than to beat that left tackle and to get to the quarterback, and he was unable to do it on a lot of instances. Now, he's another one who has impacted the play. Owen says Travon potential is scary. So, Chris, this is right. This is good. So he says he thinks a lot of this is coachable. So let's let me see. Hold on. So look at this. Below average get off. Now, he's got the strength to do it. So we should be able to coach that into him. That can be a leverage thing. We already know that he's working with elevated pad levels. So whoever his coaches were at college, they either weren't able to get that through to him or they didn't see it as a priority. You know what I mean? Like, don't forget, it's like a lot of these wide receivers, they don't care if they get 2 feet in bounds. Some programs teach them for NFL success. Others could care less. They want them to be successful right now, right here. Let the NFL teams deal with what they're dealing with, right? So you see a lot of guys, they take longer to adjust in the NFL because they were only asked to do very specific things in college, at the college game. So now looking at things like leverage, absolutely coachable. Limited bend, stiffness, I don't know. That's, I don't know if that's coachable or not with each specific player. Now the dull pursuit burst, that's coachable. Not threatening as an edge-to-edge rusher. Let's see. Lethargic getting from move to move. That is something that is going to take time. If he's not already able to do that at this level, more than likely that's going to be one of the reasons that that's going to be one of the reasons that they projected that he would be a solid starter in 2 years as opposed to right away. You know what I mean? Because that's a tough one. At the NFL level, you have to be able to go. If you cannot be a one-trick pony and expect, and expect to have significant success or elongated success, or consistent success. Let's see. Jet Strikeau. I'd take Walker over Kavon Thibodeau, but I don't think he's at 4. It's an interesting one because, look, Jet Strikeau, what if you're sitting at 4? Let's just say Hutchinson is gone, so you got that guy gone. And it's Kavon Thibodeau, Jermaine Johnson, George Karlaftis, and Travon Walker. So if you got to take one, you think, it's tough to be in a scenario where you want an edge rusher, but you don't think that one is there because by the time you get to 10, more than likely, at least 2 or 3 of those guys are going to be gone. At least 2, I would say. Safe bet. You know what I mean? Yeah, this is an interesting one. B2B says, in that ESPN article, their thesis is that RAS score is a higher correlator to NFL sacks than college sacks. And I am also not sold on that. I understand what they're saying because in the college game, generally speaking, you're playing guys that aren't at your level a lot of the time, which is why the Evan Neal, Travon Walker tape is so important. Because Evan Neal is NFL caliber. We know it, right? At least we have a pretty damn good idea that he's going to be. So when you're looking at Travon Walker or any of these guys versus people that are never going to make it to the NFL, they're saying beating those guys doesn't mean anything. You can look at the baseline athleticism, and that could tell you more, like specific drills. But that's imperfect too. I'd like to see more data on this, like in 5 years, to see where this really is. But it's an interesting one, man. I have to say. Yeah, I saw that, Curly. He says there was Curly Norman says there was an interesting Twitter exchange between Leger Doozable and a Jets fan about Jermaine Johnson. Yeah, that's our boy Brian, I think it is. I'm in a couple chats with him. Doozable was actually made to look a little silly, right? It was an interesting exchange. If you guys haven't seen it, I'm sure you can find it out there. Doozable was trying to cover something. I forget the specifics, but I read the whole thing. But it was interesting because Leger Doozable ended up kind of changing what he was saying midway through and tried to kind of blend it. And the guy wasn't having it. He was saying, no, that's not what you said. You said this. Now you're saying that. It was an interesting one. My audio's going in and out. Is that accurate? Let me see. Well, I'm sorry. Let me make sure that doesn't happen. Let me do this. I might be hitting the cord with my hand. Like I said, I'm actually in a closet. I shit you not, man. I'm in a fucking closet. So it's not easy in here. I'm like, you see what I did though, right? You see I put up the Jets banner? That's my nephew's blanket. I hung that up for you guys. But it's funny. My nephew, he came with us to do the Coney Island, the Jets chant at the top of the Cyclone bit. And he came and he hung out with Jets fans all day. And his mom and dad are diehard Giants fans. And he left there as a Jets fan. Isn't that great? We got one. We got another one. Dom C, what's up, Dom? Welcome back from your amazing family vacation. This is Dom C from GreenBeanJetsFan.com. I think you hit it on the head, Green Bean, when you talked about Walker's best as a 3-4 outside linebacker. Does his best work in space where his athleticism can shine. He is in a work in progress regarding the rush and counter moves. Right. Now, again, Dom, that's not to say that he can't have that work done. Lots of guys take a minute, right? Again, when you're using a top 5 pick on an edge rusher, if one is more pro ready, one is more able to come in with that package of skills, you might want to take that guy because, again, especially here, man, with all due respect to us as a collective, we're intense. I mean, look, Becton had a great rookie year. He gets injured last year, and we're all trading him. Same thing with Denzel Mims. He had a solid rookie year. He had a shitty second year. We don't know all the reasons. Look, just craziness. And we all call him stupid. We say he can't learn the playbook. He doesn't care. Like, that's just 1 year. So if Travon Walker is going to come in, or anybody for that matter, and they're going to take 2 or 3 years to really get there, what are they going to be called at the end of the middle of year 2 if he doesn't have 12 sacks or whatever? What do you think he's going to be called by us? Just be real. We know us. We know who the hell we are. We're going to call him a bust. That's what we do. But yeah, and thanks for checking in, Dom. That's an important thing. Like, I don't think anybody is saying, at least definitely not myself. I'm not saying that Travon Walker can't be anything. I'm just saying I'm exploring the idea at this point in the process. Like, you have your collections and your pockets of guys. So we start to look at guys and we say, is this the guy I hope the Jets take? Now, ultimately, we have no choice in the matter, right? We know that. But we like to we like to explore, and we like to try to learn, and I think that's amazing. Being educated fans I love it. I love being able to talk real shop with real fans. I love crossing paths with fans from other NFL teams as I travel around the country, and being able to talk real shop with a guy, not just a casual fan. I love it. I could talk to guys all day long about this shit. So it's a funny thing. Good morning to you, Joe Grana. Chupacabra says Mims had a hard time at the line of scrimmage, needs improved strength and hand fighting. Well, that's a funny thing because he didn't have that issue. If you really watch Mims tape, he blocked exceptionally well last year. He made a few mistakes. That's all it really was. Now, clearly the coaching staff thought those mistakes were indicative of a bigger issue, so they kept taking him out. But they didn't leave him in there long enough to get through any of this shit. But we do know, I made the video yesterday about he's working with Chad Marr Training Matrix, and he gained a bunch of muscle, and he looks fantastic, man. I mean, that's what we have right now. So whatever that is, Drupacabra, he's definitely working on it. So that's the thing. Come out of the closet. Hey, don't do that. It's my choice when I want to come out of here. So what else we got here? Let's see where you guys are. We're going to take a look at Kavon Thibodeau next too. We'll look at his weaknesses. Neil pass blocking was what makes him an NFL caliber because it's certainly not his run blocking. Yeah. Well, again, everybody has their weakness. Neil is exceptional pass blocking. And that's the thing. And what's the most important thing? If you have to pick one with an offensive lineman, you're going to want it to be pass blocking. Clearly, you don't want it to only be that, but that's what it is. The most important thing in the game of football is to protect that so important star of the team with his hand up the center's rear. That is the job. Protect him at all costs. If the running game suffers a little bit, so what? By comparison. You know what I mean? So Matt thinks the Jets are moving up to get Travon Walker. Is that what you're saying? Ron, what are you saying? What did I go with the flow? Oh, with the mic thing. Let's see. Bart Simpson. What's up, Bart? It's good to have you here. Hypothetical. Trade number 4 to New Orleans for 16 and 19. Take Wilson at 10. That's Garrett Wilson. Williams at 16. Karlaftis at 19. Linderbaum, if available, at 35. Safety, linebacker, safety at 38. Solves wide receiver for the next decade and get RD. Well, that's if you think these guys are actually first round wide receivers. You know what I mean? Like, there is definitely a chorus out there, Bart, that the guys we're talking about in the first round as wide receivers wouldn't normally be in the first round discussion. Like, the next video I make is going to be about taking a guy in the first round doesn't mean he's going to be good. And I have all sorts of great examples, entire draft classes of players that never made it. You know, and that's the thing. It's like it's so important for our general manager and our obviously our staff and coaching and everything to be able to decipher the best guy at this position in this draft does not mean we should take him in the first. Now, I'm not saying that anybody is or isn't. I'm just saying I happen to know that there is a significant chorus out there wondering if a lot of these wide receivers should even be taken in the first round. A lot of guys that we think are top 2, 3, 4, 5 receivers. A lot of guys saying, normally speaking, they wouldn't be taken in the first round. They're second round wide receivers. So you got to make that choice. You know. Now, what you said there, Bart, it's interesting. You know, I'm open to trading, but I wouldn't want to lose our number 1 edge rusher. That's my thing. Matt says, you have to pick the best player available at 4. Joe Douglas isn't stupid. Exactly. Now, the good news, Matt, is that more than likely we're going to be able to take BPA at a need. And if you have that choice, you do it. Best player available at a need is optimal. That's the way you want to do it. But again, if you have one player, let's say it's Sauce Gardner, he is in a higher tier than all the edge rushers, all the tackles, and Kyle Hamilton and the linebackers, you take them. You bring on great players. That's what you do, and you figure that out later. I hope that's not what they do, but, you know. Mr. Show checking in. What's up, buddy? Don't forget the Jet Show on YouTube as well. Mr. Show just getting it started over there, but he's got good takes, man. I'm already seeing something. I'm already liking his channel. I would like to double dip at defensive end. Jermaine Johnson and Cameron. Ooh, you like Cameron Thomas, do you? He makes me nervous, Cameron Thomas. He's raw, too. He might have trouble, but I'm with you on doubling up. What if they went like this? So what if they make this trade, this New Orleans trade, and they go back from 4 and they get 16, 19, and you're going to get a third or something out of it, okay? So let's just talk about the first round. So you have 10, 16, and 19. And you take, just like Bart said, you take your wide receiver at 10. Or let's say you take an edge at 10. So you take Jermaine Johnson, who's still sitting there. Then you take your wide receiver, and then you decide, you know what? We couldn't get Hutch or Thibodeau, so we're going to take Boye Mafe at 19. Make sure you get him, or Karlaftis if he's still there, which I'm not so sure he will be. But you take Jermaine Johnson and Boye Mafe, and you say, that's right. Just like we signed 2 tight ends in free agency, there are positions on this team we need to have done. I'm not against it, Mr. Show. I'm really not. My friend. Owen says exactly, Green Bean, but all the wide receivers might be done in the second. Pickens might only be the guy. Yeah, but you know what? Think about this. When you look at have you guys looked at the wide receiver RAS scores? Let me show you guys something real quick, okay? Now, I just made a video for Jetnation yesterday, so I don't want to give up too much of what. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag. But let me just show you guys this, okay? Let me show you. It's very interesting, guys. It's very, very, very interesting. Okay, Owen? Bear with me. I'm going to show you. You'll see. You'll see. All right, now watch this. Can you guys see this? Okay. Hold on. Where is it? Okay. So look at look, when we talk about wide receivers, what do you want from them? You want them to be able to run routes precisely. You want them to have great hands, 50-50 balls, whatever it is that you're looking at. You want them to be more athletic than not. Now look at the top RAS scores. Can you see this? The top RAS scores are little known Isaiah Weston, okay? Then you got Christian Watson, which is why he's being considered like he is. It's this. Dude, those two guys, a perfect 10 for Isaiah Weston and a 9.96 for Christian Watson. Look who's next. Notre Dame's Kevin Austin, 6'2" wide receiver. This guy is considered a 3rd to 4th round pick. But as far as athleticism goes, 9.93. Look at Alec Pierce. He's considered a 2nd, maybe even a 3rd round pick. Probably not, but that's where I've seen him. Alec Pierce, 9.8. Look at these guys. Calvin Austin, he's another one. He's probably a 3rd round wide receiver I'm seeing. 9.43. George Pickens, who would absolutely be a 1st round wide receiver if not for the injuries, he comes out and does a 9.3. But watch this. Look where our guys are. Look where our guys that we like. Garrett Wilson, 7.7. Wan'Dale Robinson, 6.06. Traylon Burks, 5.75. David Bell, 3.97. Justin Ross, 2.57. Guys, it's completely flipped. So if you're talking about wide receiver, these are the guys we're talking about in the first. You got Traylon Burks. Not everybody has it, right? Not everybody performed. But you have, obviously, Garrett Wilson. Chris Olave's in the middle there, 8.62. But most of these guys that we're talking about in the first round, they're not even the athletic wide receivers in this class. So what does that mean? What does that mean? There's a reason. Now, their production in college is what we're looking at, right? And fair enough. But when you start to look at if this guy can translate to the NFL, like I've said a million times, if Garrett Wilson is your number 1 wide receiver in this class, look at Garrett Wilson in the last 2 draft classes. He's wide receiver 5, easy, maybe 4 last year. You can make the argument to take him over Kadarius Toney, but I don't even think so. But he's not going before Jamar Chase, Devonta Smith, Jalen Waddle. Hell no. Not happening. Those are 1st round wide receivers. Look at the year before. CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy. Dude, we had guys like Michael Pittman, Denzel Mims, Claypool, T. Higgins. Those are the guys going in the 2nd round. Dude, those guys are top of this class. There's no doubt. And when you look at the relative athletic score of these guys, it starts to back up the idea that using a 1st round pick on some of these guys would be a fool's errand. Wait till the 2nd and get who's left. You're going to get a better receiver. Now, I'm not saying that they should or shouldn't. I'm saying it makes sense to consider that. When you're looking at best player available, I don't know. Brett says David Bell in the 2nd round or Olave or Burks at 10 is just, well, I hear you. I hear you, Brett. I love David Bell. I think he's underestimated, man. I really do. But when you look at his friggin' RAS score, looks like a train wreck. It looks like something I would put up. And I'm just, again, this is just information. I don't necessarily have my solid opinion yet. I do. I have opinions, but I'm just still looking at information. I want to show you guys information. Like, we have to ask ourselves, why is it that I feel so strongly about this? Why? There's lots of data backing up that I'm wrong. I don't know. And the Joe Douglas, who you know is looking at this shit, he might not do it, man. I know we think because he tried to trade for a couple wide receivers that wide receiver is the guy at 10, but maybe not, man. And this is all I'm saying. You know, like guys like Drew Pacabra, you can't hear me. You can't. Yeah. Look, mocks that don't have a receiver at 10, I'll leave the draft with lower. That's absolutely not true. Absolutely not true, my friend. But I get it. I know what you're saying. The thing is, I know what you're saying. I fear that you don't know what I'm saying. And I'm not really saying anything. I'm just showing you information. Jet Strike, thank for the super chat. He says, pick 38, pick 69. Pick 38, pick 69, Mims and Eccles for Debo in a fourth. Draft Sauce at 4. Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like it. Let's see. For draft Jermaine Johnson and Karlaftis, or Karlaftis at 10. I don't know, man. You want to give up 38, 69 Eccles and Mims? That's a lot, man. That's a lot. It's too much, Jet Strike. Too much, buddy. Right. That's the thing, Owen. The wide receiver RAS score as a group isn't great. And the funny thing is, we're looking at them like this uber athletic class. That's really not the case. It's a bunch of words that we're seeing out there. Let me see what Drums is saying. Yeah, that's a good point. Right. It doesn't always correlate. It doesn't always correlate. I mean, again, we talk about DK Metcalf all the time. He had that fantastic 40. He cried. Everybody said it was going to be great. Then he ran a terrible 3-cone. He dropped all the way to the second round off one drill. So you never know. I'm just saying that you have to collect info. Why do I feel like I feel? What is my stance? Where does my opinion come from? Is it because of some beat writer told me to feel this way? Is it because I watched one show and the guy looked good, right? Or did I look at all the information and go, okay, I feel this way. Or I'm going to disregard information because of my feelings. Like Drew Capra, this year is going to be different. Okay. What supports your feelings? I don't know. So let's look at, before we get too crazy, I want to look at Kavon Thibodeau's weaknesses, okay? So we can just compare, because again, I don't want this to sound like a Travon Walker hit piece, because it's not. Like, let me just tell you, Travon Walker is not my favorite edge rusher in this class. I like things about him, but he's not my favorite guy. But if the Jets decide to take Travon Walker over Jermaine Johnson, George Karlaftis, or whoever is there, I'm going to trust that they've done their research and they feel this is the guy. He's raw and untapped. Saleh thinks that that's the exact guy I want, if that's what they do. Now, me, I tend to think a lot of this is hype. That's what I think. I think a lot of this is hype, man. I think it's smokescreen. We see it all the time. Remember the draft a few years back with Johnny Football? Remember that? They were talking about him going top 3. Then Teddy Bridgewater. It was all Bridgewater, blah, 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 Johnny Football. What ended up happening? Fucking Blake Bortles was taken 3 overall. Their doors were blown off. Why did that happen? Well, because some stuff came out about a week or 2 before the draft saying that Blake Bortles is actually the guy. Nobody believed it, but somebody did. And was he? Wasn't Derek Carr in that draft? He was the last quarterback taken, I think. It's hard to remember it all. So Jets Forever likes Traylon Burks, says he's better than Debo, AJ, and McLaurin. Yes, that makes tons of sense, Jets Forever. Once again, you're knocking it out of the park. You have zero reason to think that. I like Traylon Burks too. He's definitely in my top 3 favorite wide receivers in this draft, without question. And he might be the guy I ended up choosing if I was taking my first wide receiver. I might take him. I like him too. But to say that he's better than Debo, AJ Brown, and McLaurin, I don't know. You like him better. That's the way you should phrase it. I like Burks better than I like Debo. See, that's the correct way to say it. That's the correct way. Right. So the Jets show says he's not a fan of Travon Walker either. All right, let's take a look at Kavon Thibodeau's weaknesses real quick. I just want to make sure I'm not missing too many comments. I know it's hard to get to all of them, but Smoke screen, Jose. I'm telling you. Right, Hawk? Blake Bortles, man. They took Blake Bortles over everybody else. And Derek, I think it was the same draft as Derek Carr. Forgive me if it's wrong, but I feel confident about that. So Derek Carr was taken last. Derek Carr just got another extension. He throws for 4,000 yards every year. Blake Bortles is a backup. You know what I mean? So D. Vieira says he feels like Walker's potential is Myles Garrett. Now, I'm not going to tell you that I remember, firmly what Myles Garrett's draft profiles looked like, but I do remember that he was being talked about as potentially one of the best edge rushers in a long time. So he was like, there was no question. Myles Garrett is this draft's guy, like Chase Young. No, everybody was talking about what edge rushers they liked, Montez Sweat or this guy or that. But nobody challenged Chase Young. Chase Young is it. Right now, we're not seeing that. I mean, most people think Aiden Hutchinson's probably going to go first, but nobody's really convinced of that. Kavon Thibodeau could go first. Travon Walker could go first. You know what I mean? So that's the interesting thing. So his floor is JFM, though. And that's scary. As much as I like JFM, we have a top 5 pick. You can't leave there with a friggin' JFM. As much as I like him. You can't leave there with a Calvin Pace. You can't. Now, if that's the worst, of course, it's better than a complete bust. Right? It's definitely better than a bust. But again, the Jets, Herman Edwards and Terry Bradway took Brian Thomas over Ed Reed because they thought they could get a solid safety in the second round. Safety was what we needed. We needed a linebacker too, but it was like Ed Reed. I remember like, holy shit, we're going to get Ed Reed. And I wasn't anywhere near as into this as I am now, but even I knew it. I was like, oh my God, we're going to do Ed Reed. That was the guy that we should have taken. We took Brian Thomas. He was a good player. He lasted a while. He played his whole career here. Great. All right, let me get to Thibodeau here. I keep talking. I don't shut up, man. All right, let's see. Kavon Thibodeau. All right, let's look at his weaknesses. Okay. We'll talk about his strengths a little bit. Let me just make sure you guys can see it. Okay. Yeah, we'll get that off. Okay. All right. So here we'll look at a couple strengths, and then we're going to focus more on the weaknesses, like we did with Travon Walker. So look, scouts say he's fueled by a solid internal drive. He's long, strong, explosive, and plays hard. Now, both of these they dovetail, right? They connect to one another. What is it that we hear is the knock on this guy? That he doesn't love football, that he's more concerned about his brand than everything else. From a couple of interviews, really. But scouts are saying he's fueled by his own internal initiative, drive, long, strong, explosive, and plays hard. Initial movements off the snap are fast and furious, and look, and has all the moves, all that kind of stuff. Now, so that's one of the things that we hear about him. Look at this one. Pursues the ball carrier with extended motor and plus speed. So he's actually one of these big strongs that can catch maybe a running back sweeping. All right, so let's look at his weaknesses. Here we go. Not a natural or instinctive pass rusher. So what does that tell you? He relies on his technique. He's falling back on his fundamentals, right? He doesn't have that innate. Like when you look at a guy like an Aiden Hutchinson, of course, he has all the moves, but he seems to have it innately. He's natural. Like there are guys that you bring in that you're like, yeah, this guy, he's just a football player. You hear that all the time. This guy's a football player. So they're saying that he might not have that. He's not natural, but he works hard enough to develop the technique to compensate, which is a positive, right? Not as bendy or fluid as teams would like. As teams would like what? As teams would like as the top pick in the draft. That's what they're talking about. So if we were talking about him in the second or late first, this wouldn't even be talked about. Okay, we're talking about where he's going to go. Needs to be schooled up in hand usage, just like we talked about a few things with Travon Walker. This one, and this next two here, these are two that we can totally work on. These are the coach upable. Needs to be schooled up on hand usage. No problem. We'll work on that with you. Underdeveloped counters to keep rush alive versus quality tackles. So this is one that we can work on. And for a guy that doesn't have the instinctive pass rushing, this is actually falling into one of his strengths. But it's similar to Travon Walker, what we talked about, which was move A to move B. So he has underdeveloped counter moves to keep the rush alive versus good tackles who know how to handle them. Okay, so that's something we can work on, but that's definitely a negative. Lacks awareness and play recognition. You guys know what that is, right? So he can get fooled. So they have a fake. He's biting on the fakes. They have the tackle taking him out wide. Why? Because they're going to run in the gap that's created by it. Those types of things. You want to have your guy be able to detect that and then fight that move that the tackle is going to push you outside to create a hole between the guard and the tackle. All right. So you want a guy that can detect that stuff. They're saying that he doesn't really have that. That's a big one. Now, can you teach it? I'm sure to a degree, needs to play with better control and shed timing at the point of attack. So a little bit, I don't know. If he's going to have and rely on technique, these are the things. If we work on his hands and all that, so better control, lacks awareness, underdeveloped counters, that kind of fits to me. Seems like this is all in the same pocket. Still has technique work in front of him as an edge setter, can be a little disjointed and tall as a tackler. Now, we saw that one with Travon Walker as well. It was a little bit more pronounced with the pad level with Travon Walker, but again, can be now look, when you see the wording of this stuff, this is them trying to find negatives, right? Because Kavon Thibodeau's game is relatively clean. Again, maybe not the results you want, but his game is pretty clean. Can be a little disjointed and tall as a tackler. So that's what's called a nitpick. It is. Some of these are big. Better control, work on the edge setter, underdeveloped counters. That's a big one. You can work on it with them, but we don't know how much it's going to be, but not as bendy as teams would like. That means he is bendy, but he's not Myles Garrett, right? Can be a little disjointed and tall as a tackler. So some of these are nitpicky, where the Travon Walker, I think, again, Travon Walker has more to work on, But look what they say about him. So Travon Walker, remember, he was a quality starter in 2 years. This one says year one starter. Okay. That's what they're saying. 6'5", 258, 33 and an eighth inch arms. So good. All the measurables are there. Okay. So what do you guys think? Now compare those two to one another, like Travon Walker and Kavon Thibodeau. I love you, Bean, but if Sauce really is perfect system, we can trade for number one wide receiver. If Hutch or Walker aren't at 4, I can see us taking edge there. Yeah, I would be surprised if we took Sauce. That's just what I'm saying. I don't think we're going to take a cornerback in this draft. That's me. If they did, again, I'm not going to be bent out of shape because I know he's a great player. I don't care. And then you got to figure out what to do with Bryce Hall and Echo and all the guys. You got to figure out what to do there. But they can do that. My thought is the best player available more than likely is going to be at a need. That's what I think. And I think if it's not that way, they should take Sauce. Jet strike. Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, I expect to see some trades. I do. I'm pretty confident that we're going to move around a little bit, but I don't know if it's going to be what people think, like trading back at 4, trading back at 10, trading up back into the first, all that. I don't know if all that's going to happen. Because again, at some point, guys, we're going to want to stay and take a damn player. Like, you don't want to keep going back to acquire more assets where the pool is less. You want to stay where you are. Like, if there's 4 big mahi in the pool, and then it has a bunch of smaller fish, some trout, it can be good, whatever. I don't know my fish, so forgive me. But yeah, you want to make sure you at least get one of those. You know what I mean? Maybe not the biggest one, okay, but you want to get one of those 4 mahi out of those dolphins out of there, right? You don't want to keep trading it for lesser fish. Why I picked the fish? I don't know, because I don't know anything about fish. So there you go. We need Baker. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, we need Baker because he's done such a great job. Everybody loves him. Everybody loves playing for Baker Mayfield. Isn't that funny? Let's see. KT's competitive fire is questioned. Serious lack of competition when faced double teams, chose to give up rather than rise to the challenge. Anointed, not deserved. Yep, there you go. So that's what they're saying about him, is that like they're combating that in that assessment. You know, they're saying that he does have the internal fire. He does play at 100%. Now look, like I saw somebody last week. They said they showed that KT got beat by a tight end. It's like every defensive end gets beat from a tight end from time. It happens. Now again, you want to look at the whole, right? You want to try to look at the whole. And look, if the Jets believe that his competitive fire is questioned, which again, you saw that, Jets fans united. You saw it right here. What are they saying? Right here. Scouts say, now not pundits, scouts say he's fueled by a solid internal drive. So that's what they're saying. You know? That's what they're saying, because that's one of the biggest questions with him. We see it all the time. You see it all the time. No, I don't want Baker, Alexander. So, Alexander, let me ask you this. Are you aware of the Kyler Murray contract dispute right now? Are you paying attention to that? You know what I mean? He's allowed to have his opinions, guys. He's allowed. I mean, whether or not he's trolling, I don't know. But if he really believes that, they're not going to bring on Baker. They're not going to bring on Kyler Murray. Why would you trade in the guy that you took number 2 overall, who costs chump change, for a guy who's literally fighting for a big contract? Which, by the way, if you guys don't know, Kyler Murray's agent is, guess who? Eric Burkhart, Marcus May's agent, who just lost Marcus May $9 million. About. So when these guys allow these pieces of shit agents to get in their head, and then it all goes to shit. You know? NFLers for grinders. Guys like Mangold prosper, not guys like KT. I don't know, Drew Pacabra. Like, with all due respect, I don't know how well you're paying attention to everybody around the league. There's totally finesse guys everywhere. Totally. Matter of fact, finesse guys tend to last longer. So anyway, so let me ask you guys this, and we'll do a little poll action for you. What do you think? I'm going to do a poll, and I want to know, just from what this chat thinks right now. Okay. We'll talk about, at number 4, if you would take Travon Walker or Thibodeau. Like, listen, it's real easy to do it out here, you know, and say this or that. But think about it like this. If you were really the guy pulling the trigger, which one of these 2 players would you feel that is more secure of placing your reputation on? Kavon Thibodeau or Travon Walker? Okay, so Oh shit, my mic got unplugged. Sorry. So I said I put the poll in there. Okay. Yeah, Matt. It's for Matt. I put the poll in there, and I want to see exactly. Yeah, thank you, Dom. I see it. But I appreciate that. So I want to see what you guys think. Again, if you were the general manager, not a fan saying, oh, yeah, I take this guy. Like, really take your mind and put it in there. Put it in there and say, like, you had to stake your reputation. This is the highest pick that you have. He has to work. Which guy? We looked at their weaknesses. We looked at a couple strengths. Which guy do you think is going to translate to the NFL and be more likely to have a career as an impactful edge for the Jets? Which guy? I'll tell you what, when I think about it that way, I start getting more nervous about the athletic. That's just me. I start getting nervous about guys who I'm counting on more athletic stuff. You know what I mean? Like, oh, he's got the measurable, like those are, Vernon Golston comes to mind. Stephen Hill comes to mind. These are guys that we drafted with specifically looking at their body, their athleticism. Like Stephen Hill, I think his best year was like 20 catches in college. And we made an excuse. We said, oh, but that's because their offense wasn't geared toward passing. And well, guess what? If he could catch, maybe it would be. We know he couldn't catch. So that's the whole thing. Oh, Matthew Smith, he meant to vote KT, but he voted for Walker. Somebody else vote for Walker who was going to vote for KT. Ooh, Jet Striker says, I don't trust speed rushers. Oh, man. But if they have the strength to back it up, like remember Mayhem Aaron Mabin? Remember him? He was a speed rusher. Super speed. He was taken in the first round by Buffalo. He was a big bust. We took him, and in his first game, he got 2 sacks with us. Remember? Then we re-signed him and the whole thing, and he fizzled. The problem with Mabin is that he didn't have the strength to back up the speed. So if somebody caught him, he was toast. You know what I mean? And he had his moments, but overall he was very he wasn't doing it. Well, a guy like KT looks like he has a bigger build, he's more well developed, he has more moves than the speed, but he relies on his speed, his get off. And he's bendy. Like I said, they say that he's not as bendy as some teams would like. Fair, but he's still pretty good. He's got a nice bend. Get My Bob says, I wish we knew how the interviews with KT went. Well, let me tell you something, guys. I want you to know my goal here is not only to stay in this. My goal is to continually develop our relationship, our community, and I want to find a way into that facility so we can share at least some of the mindsets, some of the things that we can, obviously we can't find out their hand beforehand. I'm not so stupid as to think we can do that. At the same time, I want to get into the Jets. That's what I want. I'm working on it, man. Believe me, I'm always working on this stuff behind the scenes. Now, so far, I haven't hit a bunch of walls. You know what I mean? But how do you crack through a wall with a sledgehammer? One shot? No. Matter of fact, you should probably put the sledgehammer down and get to cutting. It's like was said so many years ago in one of the presidential debates. He said, I wouldn't use an axe to take apart our system. I would use a scalpel, right? Sometimes it doesn't call for an axe or a sledgehammer. Sometimes it takes chupacabra, a little bit of finesse. Yes, it does. Right, Matt Simon loves the poll. Let me see how many guys voted. Let me see. We have 83 votes. I'll give it another minute. And then we'll see. Now, I plan to show you guys some clips, but I'm not going to be able to do that. But anyway. KT equals Javon Kirch from Richard from Jersey. Hey, that's not a bad comp, actually, in my brain. It's not a bad comp. GVH says Mabin was 200. Yes, he was super light. He was ripped, man. He was cut. Remember that? He made that art. You guys remember the Aaron Mabin art? He drew that screaming face. I said mayhem, and it had bust. Can't do it. Not good enough. All that. Remember that? He was like an artist. Yeah. So Marlon Johnson says Sauce is a luxury pick. The New York Jets corners played well with hardly any pass rush last year. Says laser year, but I know what you mean, Marlon. They have bigger needs at defensive end at pick 4. Now, I agree with that. This is exactly what I've been trying to say. That said, Marlon, if they have, like, let's say their top tier is Aiden Hutchinson, Ike Ekwonu, Sauce Gardner, and that's it for the top. Everybody else is in a subsequent tier. If Sauce Gardner is the only player left out of that tier and you're picking at 4, it's a wise rule of thumb to forego your need and bring on the best player, and you can figure it out later. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I think Sauce is going to be in a tier similarly rated to guys like Kavon Thibodeau. Now, I don't know if they like him or not. Now, they met him 3 times. Get my Bob said, I would love to know how the interviews went. Now, I don't know, but they met him 3 times. So something's up. Maybe it's all smokescreen. We don't know. You guys remember in the 1996 draft, 1996, we had the number 1 overall pick. And everybody knew we wanted Keyshawn Johnson, but we started putting out some smokescreen. Do you guys remember this? You remember who it was that we wanted, that we pretended to want? So we pretended to meet him so covertly that we allowed the press to catch him sneaking out of our facility at night. Remember that? You guys remember who it was? Come on. I know you guys remember. Matt Simon says the KT interviews went great from what he hears. Heard. Yeah, well, that's good. Hey, man, I don't give a damn who it is. Like I said, I have my guys. I'm a Karlaftis guy. I really am. I like Karlaftis better than Travon Walker and Jermaine Johnson. I don't like him better than I might like him better than Thibodeau. I'm not exactly sure. I don't like him better than Aiden Hutchinson. I don't. Hey, Y2K, what's up, buddy? Let's see. Matt Morris says, start with the training medical staff. I want clear info on how injuries are coming along. Yeah. Hey, man, not for nothing. I've tried to get an interview with Dr. Deweese. It didn't happen yet. Like, we're growing, right? We're growing. So that's my goal. My goal is to be able to, have more connection with them. Because the thing is, I'm not a piece of shit. I'm not going to write hit pieces. That's the thing. I want to give true, untainted, unbiased information. That's what my goal is. So my hope is to be able to bring that to you guys. That's my hope. I got goals. All right. Let's see. I'm going to end the poll and see where we are. Oh, man, it's not even close. Okay. So here's the poll. The poll results will come up right now. Here's the poll results. Let's see. I know what a troll is, buddy. Okay. I think that a lot of times we jump to conclusions. You know what I mean? We jump. We think anybody who disagrees with me is a troll. It's not the case. I'll give anybody a minute. You know what I mean? So the poll is very, very clear. Most of you, out of the 99 votes, 75% said Kavon Thibodeau would be the pick. 24% said Travon Walker. Very interesting. And I think that's that's largely the general consensus when looking at it. Like Jets Forever keeps saying that Sauce or Hamilton would be more impactful than an edge rusher. Now, I staunchly agree with that. At the same time, I happen to value Kyle Hamilton more than most of you, much more. I think if we were to get a legitimate pass rush, the next position that would have the maximum impact would be a ball hawking safety that can cover the whole field. I love it. Now, cornerback, I think the cornerbacks are going to go as the pass rush goes. That's what I think. You didn't get to vote? Come on, taps any button. Fucking left it up there for 10 minutes. You just get here. So let's see. George Thomas says, why not Jermaine Johnson? Seems like Jets have a huge scoop on him more than others aside from the Lions. Here's my thing with Jermaine Johnson. I've watched significant tape on him. And it seems to me that when he is successful, it's due to a play breakdown many times. That's what I've seen. I see him get stood up often, and when engaged, I just don't see him winning all that much. You know what I mean? Like he leaves a lot. He seems slow to me a lot of the time. So he's just very, for me, he's very unexciting. Now, if they love him and they're like, this guy has all the raw tools, we can get it out of him, then great. I'm a totally supportive Jermaine Johnson guy. I don't hate him. We're nitpicking. We're looking at Jermaine Johnson versus Travon Walker versus George Karlaftis versus Aiden Hutchinson versus Boye Mafe versus Kavon Thibodeau. So, and look, I tell you what, I might like Boye Mafe more than half of them. I might. I can't tell. I don't know what the hell my brain does sometimes. Yeah. So don't forget to hit the like button, everybody. Don't forget to subscribe. Well, I think I have it so nobody can comment unless you're subscribers. You know why I do that? Just so you know, somebody said that's kind of dicky. It's not dicky. It stops all the Pornhub shit. You know what I mean? So when we get all those, sex tape blurbs, that takes that away. At least it has so far. So I just don't want to deal with that crap. It's hard enough to keep this thing going and and try to pay attention to your chat and everything. I try to get as many of you guys up here as possible. Matt Morris, I'm liking Chris Sims' rankings more and more, maybe just because he doesn't go with everyone else's echo chamber. Matt, yeah, well, I think that's the refreshing thing about him. But when you look at his records, they're not, like the last one, we use this often this week, right? Or this month. You look at his wide receiver rankings last year, and they weren't, some of them were the easy guys, right? But he had, what the hell was his name? Anyway, he had a guy rated higher than Jalen Waddle. Everybody thought he was crazy when he did it. And their rookie seasons, at least, did not support what he's saying. Now, again, you can't judge a rookie season until 3 years. A rookie career until 3 years, which is why I'm still haven't given up on the 2020 draft class. Now, it's getting down to the wire. But guys like Becton, Mims, dude, these guys got it. And if third year, let's give them 3 years and see what they do. I also like Jabari Zuniga. I like LaMichael Pirine. Now, if they cut him, I don't give a shit. Just get better guys. I don't care. But Jabari Zuniga, the only concern with him from me was his injuries, and that's what we've seen. He was the only guy that had an injury concern coming in, and I thought he was overdrafted. I liked the player. I thought he was a 4th round, So Gitmo Bob. Here's the thing you have to take into consideration: the coaching staff and their style of defense, which emphasizes pass rush. That's thank you, Bob. That's so well said. Like, you might value cornerbacks and look at Rex Ryan. Rex Ryan, he was a 3-4, and he had anybody playing up front. He had Mike DeVito, Sione Puja. They didn't need pass rush. He had exotic blitzes, and his thing was quarterbacks and linebackers that can blitz. That was his defense. So having Cromartie and Revis was fantastic. Salah's defense, it's about the pass rush. It's about creating pass rush and disruption with the 4 guys that are there without having to send extra guys. Of course you can, but you want to be able to generate consistent pressure with the 4 down linemen. That's what you want. So when you send a guy, he's coming in free. You don't want to depend on the 5th guy or the 6th guy to get pressure. You want them, when you send them, you want it to have a great chance of hitting pay dirt. That's what you want. So, Jay Johnson says, are you out of the ICOM? I was never there. Never. I was never there. Now, it's not to say I don't like the player. I would hate if 3 years in a row we had to use firsts on one position. So even when you count AVT, don't forget, so far in Joe Douglas's tenure, we've used the 11th overall pick, the 14th overall pick, 2 third-round picks, and a 4th-round pick on the offensive line. So I would rather see some of that first-round capital go to an actual, position that's somewhere else on the team. Edge rusher. There are other premium positions that you should be using first-round capital on. Using a 3rd straight first. So think about that. We would have traded Jamal Adams and used those picks on essentially one position. Like, dude, Becton is a stud. He's 22 years old. Why anybody's given up on him is literally beyond me. Now, you want to get insurance? Sure. Use a 4th-round pick and get yourself some insurance. Totally. You should be having those guys on the pipeline anyway. I'm totally with it. Using a top 4 pick? Hell no. Now, if he's the best player on your, okay. But it's like me, I'm hoping that they don't do that. Really. Stop messing with AVT. Well, hey, I got to say, that's a pretty wise move that they did. You're bringing on a Pro Bowl left tackle. Why move him when you could move the other guy who's young? He hasn't even, stabilized yet. So I'm with you, though. It better work, right? And if they moved Mekhi Becton to the right side, imagine that. The Smash Bros go to the right side together. Crazy. Abstraiku, thank you, buddy. He says, no one questions that Saleh is a win with edge guy. But the drop off at edge from 4 to 10 is not as much as when you consider the top 2 edge will be gone. Well, again, we don't know if the top 2 edge will be gone. And actually, the drop off between the edge rushers is more significant after the 3rd or 4th guy. That's where it's really significant. Again, you might like Boye Mafe, you might like Drake Jackson, you might like Cameron Thomas, some of these guys, but more than likely, as a collective, we're looking at a drop-off after the first 4, maybe even 5 edge rushers. Of course, there's going to be another tier up top. It's more than likely going to consist of Aiden Hutchinson and either Travon Walker or Kavon Thibodeau, depending on the teams that like them, right? But the drop-off is there's a cliff after that. You can still have a guy worthy of being taken with a top 4 pick at 4, even if the top 2 are gone, but most likely they're not going to be. There's lots of great players up there. You got 2 tackles, you got Sauce Gardner, you got quarterbacks. You have Kyle Hamilton, who many think is the best player in the entire draft. The Texans could take Kyle Hamilton, no problem. Lovie Smith, wanting his patrol over the back of his defense, hell yeah. And I still think the Detroit Lions are going Malik Willis. I've said it from the beginning. I'm still with it. So he'll be there, sure. He's not working out until training camp. That's what Becton's doing, Matthew. And we don't know if he could or not. Saleh just said he'll be there for training camp. That's the goal. The goal is having him ready for training camp. OTAs, don't forget, guys, the first phase of OTAs is literally working out. It's not practice. They're not allowed to do that for the first phase. Phase 2, they're allowed team drills. That's it. So the first phase, what's the difference? You know what I mean? I think he'll be there, though. But anyway, guys, we're going to wrap this one up. As I said, I'm going to Great Adventure today. If anybody's going, let me know on Twitter or something. I'll hang out with you for a minute or two. But I'm going to be heading to the Jersey Devil because that's the one roller coaster I haven't been on there. I can't wait to do it. I want to remind you guys to like this video if you haven't already. I want to remind you about our sponsor, Novilla Mattress. The discount codes and everything are right in the description of this video. It takes it to my link tree. Click right on it, Novilla Mattress. You're going to save 25% on an already cheaper mattress. I'm telling you, I spent $4,000 on a mattress before. Things like $400, and it's great. I love it. Motion control. So anyway, the information is there, and I want to thank Novilla Mattress for sponsoring this episode of Green Bean's Jets Pod. I love you guys. I think you guys are right now. I'm glad that you did this live Easter Passover version of the Jets Pod this week. You know, I had to do something today, right? I couldn't miss it. So we did this, and I'm glad that you guys were able to come. Again, like the video, subscribe. If you'd like more exclusive content from yours truly, don't forget about my Patreon. The information is in the top of the description as well. Join up with the Beanbaggers. This Wednesday, we have a private mock that we're doing through Zoom, so everybody's together, like we're hanging out in a room, like a real war room, and we're going to see what we do, and we're going to compare our draft to the real NFL draft for the Jets and see how that goes. But guys, I want to thank you for being here. You guys know how much I love hanging out with you. Let me know what you guys think as we move along. We're getting there. 10 days, and it's there. We are right around the corner. But guys, again, thank you for being here. Have a great day, everybody. I hope you had a happy holiday, and I will see you next time.
High pressure in control. Man, that looks great.
Jets! Oh my God, it's so beautiful. 78 degrees, Jets football, and we're winning. That's what's going on today. That's why everybody's so psyched. This isn't no happenstance. This is a guarantee, just like Joe Namath said. See that?
There are few things in life you cannot put a price on. Loyalty, tradition, fierce passion. Today is a gigantic family reunion because finally, they're back.
I love Jets fans. You name one other organization that deals with the shit that we deal with and is still this passionate. Sure, you got the little segments, the dog pound. But look at the Patriots fans. They just had 20 years of there are kids, there are 20, 21-year-old, 25-year-old people in this world that are Patriots fans who have never known losing. Never in their entire lifetime. They were born into this Belichick-Brady thing, and they have consistently won. They've won 6 Super Bowls. They've been to 9 or whatever it is. And then when they didn't get in there, they were the AFC Championship game or the semifinals or whatever. And what happens the year that Tom Brady leaves? Dude, you have droves of people leaving the Patriots. These are diehard Pats fans. This is what they have. Diehard Pats fans going to be Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans. Why? Because I'm a fucking fan of Tom Brady. Bullshit. What is that?
Big day. Coach Middleton,
Yes, sir.
what an unbelievable effort.
Yes,
Your
it was.
inspiration at halftime, they got it there, man.
Well, I appreciate your effort, man. Hell of a job. You should be proud of yourself.
I'm so proud of everybody. I mean, it's been a hell of a year watching this damn game, but whatever it freaking takes, offense, I freaking love the way y'all ran the ball today, man. That was freaking awesome. How about Braxton?